Good morning, this is Faye from Faye's Journal Emporium, and today I have a craft video to share with you. I have been using the recycled packaging from a lot of the ephemera that I purchase and making tags from them. So I wanted to show you some of the types of tags that I use and some of the results that I've had. I use a lot of the Tim Holtz tags. The ideology comes in so many different sizes. You can get something that's really wide, something narrower, really tall and skinny. They just come in all different sizes, and they're fabulous to use. These are the really, really tall ones from the Remnant Rubs. You could do a page with those. Those are some of the, and then the small ones, and I'm going to be doing a medium-sized one today to show you. There's also Finnabar Mechanicals has some really nice size tags. There's even some large ones like this. And then I do a lot of shopping at Hobby Lobby, and they have the Paper Studio spare parts, and of course these are the same idea. And then these are the Prima, some from them. And those are really pretty too. So those are some of the tags that I use. And then photos. So you need some photos because I love vintage photos. And I try to include, when I'm making these tags, I try to include some photos if I have them. So if you don't have access to an old photo album like I do, and this was a purchase I made at a garage sale, and it's just full of wonderful old pictures that I don't feel bad using because they're not relatives of mine that I want to save or anything like that. So you can use those. If you don't have access to those, which are some of the ones here, I love this little one. I'm trying to get in focus, I'm sorry. There's a little girl. These came out of that album too. If you don't have access to an album like that, a lot of the digital downloads have little tiny photos or larger photos you can use. These are, I believe, I'm sorry, I cannot remember. I think they might be Tracy Fox's. There's also Tim Holtz, of course, and in some of his paper packs, he has like a whole page full of these little photos. And these are nice to use. It's a cute little guy. And I love this little girl. She's really cute. And then, of course, there's his photo booth strips that you can use. So those are the photos. I use backgrounds for mine also. And I've used tear sheets and pieces of vintage maps, dictionary pages, wallpaper that you can tear and add to it, different digital downloads. I used this in the one I'm going to show you today. And of course tea stain paper so that you've got something to put on the back that you can write on. Also the inside of envelopes. This was a card someone sent me, and that's really, really pretty paper. So there's all kinds of different ideas for the paper. Can also use some of that masking paper. I've used that on some of mine. So those are some ideas for the papers. And then I have used different, I dye, tea dye or avocado dye, some of my can't think of what it is right now. Anyway, this is really good. Cheesecloth. My brain is not. Anyway, you can use the cheesecloth. You can use bits of lace. I'm going to show you some of the cards that I've made. Used different things in them. This one has a little photo of the little girl, and then I've used a piece from a botanical book, the backing from the botanical book, some tea tea bag paper, a little piece of lace on this, and then this also has the seam binding that I've dyed, and a little paper clip. And then the back of it I've decorated also. If you're going to put it in a journal, you might want to just use your tea dyed paper for that. It's another little one that I've added. I love children's vintage photos, and I've added a button to this, and again, this is some wallpaper, music paper behind it, seam binding, and again, I used some paper on the back. There's another one. This is a photo of a family, and similar ideas. This is some tea bag paper that I've used on this one. And you can also do them sideways. You don't have to put them straight up and down. And on this one, I've used the hole punches that give you the like this one. This is, can't remember who did this hole punch, but I've used this one on some of them. And this one also. This is the one I used on this, with the music paper behind it, and then I try to do quotes that I think are appropriate to the picture. There's two little ones playing, looks like in a peony patch of beautiful flowers, and I put the butterfly and kind of match the color here, and so the adventure begins, because I think that's probably what they were up to. And again, on the back, I've decorated that in a different way. This one is a photo I found in my mom's album. I'm not quite sure who that is, probably a friend of hers. And I used some book pages, some cheesecloth, some lace, and some ribbon. Let's call it the storyteller. And in the beginning, I was really focused on covering the entire background of the tag, instead of just covering some of it. Like I did on this one. This is a little different. So you don't have to cover everything. You can just leave the edge of it showing, as long as you're covering up most of, or I like to cover all of the writing that are on the tags to begin with. And this has some roses and music paper on the back. And then this one is one of my favorites. This is a picture of one of my uncle's girlfriends back in the day, in the 20s, and I used a vintage road map, and this is from Tim Holtz from his group. Had a gasoline coupon, fragile handle with care on that, and I did not cover the whole tag, so you can see the edges of it, and I think that adds to it. And then on the back, I just used the license plate paper that he had. So anyway, those are some of the ones that I've made before, and I wanted to go ahead and do one with you all today. So let's get started. I've picked out a picture and some things to work with to start with, so that we didn't have to wait around for me to make a decision on what I was going to use, because if you had to do that, this video would be hours long. I'm using this particular packaging, and this has the lettering all the way up here, so I was really careful about trying to find my paper that would cover that, so that you don't see that, but you see the edge. So I'm going to start by doing that. Let me get my glue, and I'm going to use the 3-in-1 glue. Hopefully this is going to work for me, but I do want to go ahead and ink the edges on these. I'm going to do that real quick, and I like to use the, is this the, oh, I can't read it, I've had it on there so long. I don't like the vintage photo so much because it leaves more of a reddish tone, and I like the brown tone. I think this is walnut stain, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to put this down first. And I do not like, you know what, I'm going to go to this glue because I know this one's open. I don't like to use the glue stick, although you certainly can. I found that when I use a glue stick, it winds up warping whatever it is I'm working with, and I don't like that. So this is this. This is the Aqua Glue, the Tombow. It's like your other, see, I'm going to make sure I cover that. Whoops. Okay. And then I'm going to use this little piece of dictionary page, which deals with bathing and baths. Thought that was kind of appropriate. I like to tear my papers. I use this ruler that I purchased on Amazon. I think it's really great for that. So I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe. And now that school has started, I'm sure that it's quite busy for those of you who have children at home and you're trying to work with that. Okay, I'm just going to put this right here like that. And the other thing I want to do before I go very much further is this particular tag. Most of the time there's an opening that's wider. What did I do with those tags? Oh, I moved them. That has this type of opening, and this one for some reason just had the hole. So I'm going to go ahead and punch that through now, so when I punch it on the other side I'll be able to see it and not cover up my paper. Okay, and I'm going to add my cheesecloth to this before I put my picture down. So kind of put some dots of this around. The Fabri-Tac would work really well with this too. Kind of scrunch that up so that it's got some. The only problem with gluing cheesecloth down, as you all have probably found out, is it has a tendency to stick to your fingers. Okay. And then I'm going to, again, ink the edges of this photo. This was probably from the I'm thinking earlier than the 20s, maybe the late 1915, 1920 time frame, because they had the longer tops on. Once the Roaring 20s started, they became a little bit more abbreviated with their bathing suits. And this came out of the album, so it's got some of the black backing on it. I'm just going to leave that. And then I wanted to add a button to this because I thought it would be, this blue backing is really pretty, so I'm going to put this down here. Remember which side. Yep. And I'm going to put it in an angle like that. So I need to punch some holes through here. I have my little backer. That I can go all the way through and not have to struggle with the Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Up from that middle hole if I can find it. It was right there. There we go. I come up through this hole. I'm going to do this kind of like a flower. Well, if I could see, we'd be in good shape. There we go. Okay, now I need to come up through this one. Cannot see it. There we go. There. So we've got the button on. And I'm just going to, if I can find my scissors, cut that off. And put a piece of Scotch tape over it. If I can find my Scotch tape. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the back on, and I had already cut or trimmed a piece that would fit back here. And again, trying to cover up all of this area here. So let's go ahead and ink this up. And this gives you journaling space on the back. And you could just tuck this into a pocket in a journal, or actually make it a tuck spot itself if you wanted to glue the two sides, and that way you wouldn't have to put backing on it. These are just so much fun to make. I love vintage photos and lace, and I have been collecting things for years and years and years, so I have a lot of stuff to work with. You could use old magazine pages, just about anything you wanted. And certainly this idea is not new. I'm sure other people have done this. I just wanted to share the things that I've done with my photos. Not quite got that area over there. You could use washi tape on this, or some little piece of Scotch tape that looks vintage. I'm going to put a piece of it right here to kind of hold that down. And this tape is really easy to make. I know there's several videos out there showing people how to do this, so to tear a little bit. Be a little bit more interesting if it's not exactly straight. Okay. And then that just adds a little bit more to the picture. And I'm going to go ahead and punch this. And then I have a piece of seam binding that I have colored. So I think that's a little bit longer than we need. I'll cut a little piece of that off. As I said, these can go in a journal. I've done several different types of things with these tags where I haven't used photos on them. But there you go. And then what she needs now is a quote. And there's lots and lots of things you can use for that. These are some of the Tim Holtz ones. You can use the remnant rubs, the chit chat, the small talk, just all kinds of things like that. So I'm have been looking at these and trying to decide what I was going to use. And I think that I decided I was going to use the one that said having been discovered. So I'm going to go ahead and ink around this so it can be seen a little bit better. I have used remnant rubs in some of them. And then I will use the glue stick for this to make sure it's going to stay down. Even though there's sticky on the back of it. And I have found that my hands are old and don't always work right, so I found that it really helps me if I take and hold onto this with a pair of tweezers and just decide where I want it to go. So I'm going to put it right there. And there you go. There's our finished tag. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please mention that in the comments below the video, and I will get back to you. Thank you, and you all have a nice day.